experts and practitioners who are contributing to Bengaluru's sustainable mobility. So, before we start the conversation, I just want to provide some context to the conversation that we will be having around a topic that touches our everyday lives. A recent survey mentioned that about 9% to 29% of people walking along footpaths would have taken a private vehicle if the footpaths had not been improved. So this is equivalent to around 1,000 to 3,000 cars being taken off the road for a year. In Bengaluru's context, IISc research has shown that using integrated public transport system would help us achieve 80% sustainability by 2041. With that note, I think we should just start. See, we have several problems. We are living with problems when it comes to mobility, but we do have some models. I think let's hear from our panelists as to how we can leverage these models and what is stopping us from, in fact, utilizing these models. Urban design first. Nithya, urban planning has increasingly emphasized sustainable mobility as a potential solution for the many problems that we face, from traffic to pollution to public health. So what are the design factors that could actually help us aid low carbon mobility in a city like Bengaluru?
Thanks. Good afternoon everyone. It's not rocket science, as somebody said in the earlier panel, and it is being done. Solutions for green mobility, comfortable, convenient and sustainable mobility in various ways. We have examples across our country as well as in the global north. I would bucket the solutions into 3 buckets, starting with policy and then going to plans and to projects. So to start with policy, just to give an example, Copenhagen today is widely known as the cycling capital of the world, but it did not happen overnight. It took them 40 years. They ran campaigns and slogans for 40 years saying real men do not drive cars but drive bicycles. Of course, today we have to change that to real citizens, not real men. And to own a car, you need to pay 180% sales tax over and above the car value. Additionally, parking charges, fuel charges, etc. are more expensive. So we need to take steps in making these brave policies that disincentivize private transport. Because while there will be a lot of opposition, while it will make a lot of us uncomfortable, unless we do that, we cannot start taking genuine steps towards sustainable mobility. New York has recently imposed a congestion tax, and in 30 days, the results have been staggering. There's been a $3 billion increase in the economy, but 1 million cars have disappeared off the roads. There's been a 20% increase in the metro and bus ridership, which was already high. So we need to start making policies like that. The second thing is planning. Bangalore today is a really important city, not just for the region or the country, but globally. But it is a city that is very low dense and very low rise. The most expensive real estate is right here in the city center. But the city center is underdeveloped. We have a lot of land, belonging to defunct institutions, to the army. It's scattered. And across Bangalore, my FSI and height restrictions is the same. So why would I, as a real estate developer, choose to build in the city center? I will go outside. Bangalore's outer areas are developing 7 times faster than the inner areas. So if you look at decadal population maps of Bangalore, it's like a donut. The center is hollowing out, getting lighter and lighter, and the outer areas are getting darker and darker. What does this mean for the average citizen and mobility? It's extremely painful. Our travel times have doubled, tripled. We're spending a lot of time on the road. It's time we should be spending with our family and time that should be spent in productivity. The TomTom index for 2024 says the average Bangalorean loses 117 hours a year in traffic. That's 117 hours we could be doing a lot else. So what we need is differential development control regulations for different centers. For centers around metro stations, for the city center, we need high-rise, walkable cities, right? Like the Manhattans of the world. In 1963, New York came up with a resolution that if you gave away your ground floor to public space, you get 2 floors higher. So the whole city became walkable. You have privately owned public space, and then you create these walkable centers. We also need differential DCRs for our peri-urban areas, which are now growing in this very chaotic ways as they keep as Bangalore keeps enveloping. So that's on the planning front. The last is projects. None of this, policies or planning, can be effective without walkability. And to do that, we need a lot of investment and we need coordinated efforts to take walkability forward. Bangalore is already far ahead. We have 100 kilometers of tender roads. Tender roads were completed almost 10 years ago. Mr. Tushar Girinath was a great champion of that back then, but we've stopped with 100 kilometers out of 13,000 kilometers. We now need to coordinate and get the footpaths going to create these walkable centers around metro stations and make the entire city walkable. A footpath may cost us 3 crores a kilometer. So in roughly 40,000 crores, we can complete the entire city. So that's the final step.
Thank you, Nithya. So I think tender roads or footpaths, we already have like best practices in Bengaluru, and we also have various plans to make non-motorized transport feasible in the city. For instance, we have the active mobility bill, the comprehensive mobility bill, and also the non-motorized transport project. So how is BBMP, Mr. Tushar Girinath, how is BBMP trying to utilize these ideas to make the city pedestrian and cyclist friendly?
Thank you. Whatsoever my previous speaker was saying, I mean, it's absolutely true, and this is how the growth happens. But she had also mentioned that it takes a lot of time to see the changes. I mean, still today, London is most congested on the road. Over the surface of the road, it is still very congested. Below, we have a great network of tube. But there are still large number of vehicles. You are trying to reduce it by charging them heavily, differentially. You can't come into certain roads, etc. So all that is pointer regarding the human behavior. And with the aspirational type of place and the population which gets money, and cars are still, they say imported cars now. Our US president is very annoyed that we are heavily putting the tax, otherwise it should be further down. In that case, the aspiration of the person to have a vehicle and to drive comfortably is so high that we may try to bring the policy, etc., but we can only bring it when we have made some sort of infrastructure improvement. You see the roads in London, they will be around 4 times the size of our roads. Then you go for New York, you see any city, when they made very large width roads. Here we are saying that whatsoever is existing, on that you run public transport. Also the aspirational type of fellows who are getting some money, immediately they are purchasing one car, maybe because we have not done, it is a chicken and egg story, we have not done enough number of public transport, buses are not there, they are not so comfortable. BMRCL, our MD sir is here, he will tell how fast he can complete his network. So since they are not there and you have money, you are going to purchase a vehicle and go. My take on this is, you have to have, there is no doubt that you require mass rapid transport system for this size of city. Without metro, without bus network and large number of buses on the road, and to that extent reduction in the private vehicles, things are not going to improve. Even if we make it double road or make it quadruple, etc., it is not going to happen. But we cannot prescribe a penalty or anything of that sort unless we have done our best to say that we have done everything. We have provided you this much of width at least. We have provided metro, we have provided BRTS. Without doing any such thing, you go and put a solution which is not possible to implement. Hence, you have to have all the things together. We are at that stage where we cannot say this is the solution and this is not the solution. You cannot take up widening of road, you cannot take up tunnel, you cannot take up any such thing, because there is a system in which everybody can be brought into a bus and can be moved. So that's an utopian concept. We have to recognize that no city has sorted out or solved this problem without having good mass rapid transport system, public transport system. That is a given. To reach to that and to allow those many buses on our roads and also allow the public who is purchasing the private cars, we are not banning the private car industry or anything of that sort. We are saying you bring the cars, it is allowed. We are not stopping the registration in Bangalore. So we are saying it is a, you come up with, you are earning enough of money, you deserve a car, you move in the car, But we should provide enough of alternatives. Then only we can come on penalties. We can think about saying that if you come here, I will charge you this or that. So that is very important. Now your question to footpath. Yes. To walk to the metro, it is the best thing to walk. Today also, if you see in our WRI, 65% of persons are walking to the metro. And around 25, 26 are coming through autos. Or 7 or 10% are coming in their vehicles. So it is very, very important that we have footpath. Without footpath, we should not make any road. The footpath and the drain below are the essential to have a proper road network. If that is getting obstructed, some rain comes and everything gets stopped because our roads have not properly drained, and then there are potholes coming up. They will become bigger and bigger, and anyway it will slow down the traffic. So the quintessential requirement is that we should have good, clean footpath. People should walk. We should see that below that footpath there is enough and good infrastructure is put, rather than doing a shoddy job of just making some sort of drain and putting some sort of old type slabs or stones and going ahead with that. So we have to do that re-engineering. With that respect, keeping that in mind only, we have sat down together with large number of experts and have made our design manual, which is we are calling it as handbook, which was released yesterday. We are then deciding as to how much should be the footpath width. Less than that should not be allowed, so the road can become, because of you have to see the uniform carriage width of the road, all that space is available, and we can still compromise on the width, but we should not compromise on the footpath. And also we should not compromise on the infrastructure which has to be laid below. You have to lay BWSSB, you have to lay BESCOM cables, you have to lay KPTCL cables, you have to lay OFC cables. All those things are just, no, there is no right of way except our road and footpath. So they are broken every day by everybody, because we are again a growing city. Today you have a BESCOM action plan, tomorrow you have a BWSSB action plan, day after tomorrow our action plan changes. So this is a continuous cycle of reinventing our what you call future. So you have to lay the lines, you have to lay the OFC cables, you will break my road and footpath, etc. So for that the design should be such that beforehand itself we should provide all sorts of ducts. You take it in there, we should charge properly. Now we were charging something very high. The government of India says, no, you can only charge 2,500 rupees. Who will pay the remaining infrastructure gap? So it's not possible. People should also realize that they have to pay reasonably for the infrastructure which they are putting. There is no other right of way, so they have to pay properly. The BWSSB also doesn't pay, other agencies also they do not pay. With the result, we are having a bit of a problem. Otherwise, footpath will not be broken. If we have a proper design and we provide below the ducts, etc., the footpath will be walkable for long time. We have been doing it. We put the cobblestone, then it is collapsing because of a lot of rodents and all that. So again, we have to do the relaying, and that people start saying that you are making a lot of money in those relaying the good footpath again, etc., etc. So we have to tackle it in that systemic manner.
Thank you. So I think identifying the problem is key to coming up with a solution. And Arun, you recently took that Bengaluru footpath challenge, and you walked 100 kilometers to find where are the gaps and how is our footpath now and what is missing.
Yeah, I mean, the way this panel was structured is we had the government, we had the designer, and I am the common man. I walk. That's all I do, and my perspective is very different than a top-down. It's a very bottom-up. So a question for all of you, how many of you walk 10,000 steps per day or want to walk 10,000 steps? All of you agree it's a good thing to do, right? Okay. How many of you do that on the footpaths? Most people say we would love to walk 10,000 steps and they'll go to the gym or they'll go to the park because where are the footpaths? So I took a brave decision in September on Sir MV's birthday. I said September 17th is his birthday, October 2nd is Gandhi Jayanti. They were both walkers, and I will walk 100 kilometers in 15 days on footpaths, and I will take a video of every step I take. And I got 10 friends and we did it, and we mapped out 100 kilometers and we counted a very simple thing. How many obstacles are there? Non-technical. How many times do you have to leave the footpath? And we came up with a number so that we can measure. From the common man's point of view, there is an obstacle. I don't care if it's BESCOM or BBMP or forest or anything. It's an obstacle. And we got a real number. And we actually mapped 100 kilometers and we found 422 problems. And I was given a chance to speak at a mobility symposium on October 3rd, where Tushar sir was there. And I presented the report. He said, give me that report and I will send it out to all the ward engineers. So he did that. And between October and November, we worked with BBMP ward engineers and solved as many of those obstacles that we could. And more than 60% of the obstacles are immobile objects. When you talk about traffic, you're talking about traffic flow, you invest in AI cameras, you deal with behavior. If there is a stone, you just move it out. And what we found is that 70 to 80% of the obstacles are so simple to remove if we just figure out how to focus on it and measure it. So we did that, and then in December 1st, during the Bengaluru Habba, we launched what was called the BangaloreWALKS Festival. We said, anybody can come. We are going to walk 10,000 steps every morning, by the way, 10,000 steps is 7.5 kilometers. Okay? We walked for 15 days. How many in this audience came and walked with me? I see at least 15 hands who have come on these walks. We walked 100 kilometers across Bangalore, open to anyone. N.A. Harris, who was here before, walked 10 kilometers in Shantinagar. Rizwan walked 5 kilometers with me. We had lots of IAS officers, we had senior citizens. 1,500 people walked 100 kilometers over 15 days, which totaled 1.5 crore steps. One step for every Bangalorean. And why did they come? Because they all believe that we like walking. And so what we did at the end of it, we proved three things. One, Bangalore has an interconnected footpath network of 120 kilometers that we started up, number one. Number two, most of those problems are solvable very easily. There are of course big ones, but 80% were solved. Three, all of you know Zomato, IMDb, the wisdom of crowds. You can rate a footpath. Why don't we start rating civic services based on what you think, not what an expert thinks. So we asked after every walk people to give ratings. Rate the footpath as red, yellow or green. Very simple, a scale of 1 to 3. And we came out with the footpath rating which I have just published it in the BBMP head office at the Nammaraste seminar. 100 kilometers of maps. So what we did was we said, let's divide Bangalore into 3 kilometer segments. 3 kilometers is 5,000 steps. All of you can walk 5,000 steps. Can anyone tell me the distance from Deccan Herald to this point? Deccan Herald office to this venue? Quickly. Exactly 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers. I'm betting not many people walk that. Very easy to walk. And so the thing is, if you divide Bangalore into 3 kilometer segments and assure its walkability. So what I said was, and I took the gall to say, I am the unelected, self-nominated footpath mayor of Bangalore. Until someone takes that from me. I'm very happy to give it off. I'm waiting for someone to say, because until one person owns the walkability, not worrying about which department. I want to walk 1 kilometer and count. So I said, I'll do that. I certified 100 kilometers on my name. I called 1,000 people to walk. Most agreed with my certification. So today where we are is we have set a target that in the next 6 months we will walk 500 kilometers and videotape everything, and I'll go meet Tushar sir and he will call the engineer and they will fix it, and then I will invite people to walk. So I'm an optimist, and I believe there are 3 reasons to make Bengaluru a walkaluru. So we made a new term. Is Bengaluru a walkaluru? We need 3 conditions. One is we need good weather. None of us out here have created it. We are the only ones who can destroy it. But we have good weather. We have shade. The entire 100 kilometers walk had shade. When you have weather and shade, the only missing element is the footpath, which is entirely in our control. So if we get footpath, trees and weather right, Bangalore can be walkable. That is my take. So I am an eternal optimist.
Thank you. Thank you. We have seen that there is so much interest in walking now. So recently the government announced over 1 lakh crore rupees to decongest Bengaluru's traffic. So Mr. Tushar Girinath, this question is for you. Is the BBMP trying to or planning to propose allocation for non-motorized transport as well, apart from flyovers and tunnel roads?
Again, it is not this or that issue. Of course, when the resources are limited, this becomes a competing issue. The mega projects, which we think that BBMP it is difficult to handle, has to be ultimately hived off to some SPV. So they will be taking up all these projects. We will be escrowing some of our resources, let us say from the premium FAR, as she was telling that from the transit-oriented development, if we increase the FAR, we may be able to collect money, and we have not got that high in our planning. So we can do something. So that much money which BBMP gets, we are trying to put for the major infrastructure. As I told again that that is the bare minimum we have to do. 1 lakh crore is not being spent in 1 year. We are saying it will be spent in 10 years.
Okay, my question
That is
was...
so, now I'm coming. So that your footpath bill will be borne by the BBMP. BBMP should own up in any road which we are making. I am telling you once again, we have to have the footpath as the integrated part of development of the road. So whenever now we are going for an approval of a road, that is the resurfacing roads are already done. We are not going for new roads except for the buffer roads. Nala buffer roads which we are going to make, that will also come with the footpath. Any road we make, that will come. Any redevelopment of the road, and the tender sure, if you can call it a tender sure model or any model, it will have a footpath, and footpath will be the integrated part of road development. Besides that, already developed roads where, suppose arterial, subarterial roads, where you are really going to use and you want to rush, in the rush hours you want to reach the metro, and metro is also moving on the, mainly on the arterial, subarterial roads. We have developed around 40 to 50% of footpath. Remaining 50% has to be developed, and it should be developed very fast. So we will be certainly allocating money. Last year also in brand Bangalore we had kept money for this. That has become the part of the road development. This year also we will keep adequate money, and we will go ahead and see that how fast we can lay the footpath.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe what I meant was, as we reimagine motorized transport through tunnel roads and flyovers, are we reimagining walkability also?
You see our DOLT, which is guide to all of us, for the non-motorized transport, for cycling tracks, below their metro, whatever they are laying metro piers, they are going for cycling on that ORR. That is all inbuilt. So they are thinking that nobody thinks about footpath is not correct, or nobody thinks about cyclists, so nobody thinks about pedestrian is not correct. But what happens when the amount is meager, we are spending more money on moving the traffic as it is on the existing roads. So the first priority is to just see that people move. Otherwise, the only conduit available right now, rightly or wrongly, is that black topped surface. And it is pitted, and it is getting into all sorts of problem, and we are not investing. On the major road for the last 7 years, where we have invested, we keep on thinking 10,000 crore is also very huge investment, which is absolutely minimal. 74,000 crore is the budget of Brihan Mumbai Corporation. What is our budget? Our budget is this year will reach 10,000. Though I said 13,000, we could not mobilize that much of money, we will reach 10,300. If we add all other parastatals also, it will be 35,000 crores. So another 40,000 crore has to be invested in this city. If you don't invest in this city, including footpath investment, which you say the 40,000, but we need not take that much of time to build those 1,400, already 400, 500 is built. Remaining 1,000, as she's saying, the 2.5 crore or 3 crore. We have to invest that much of money. That is not such a great amount as such. 1,000 on the arterial road plus 3 crore is only 3,000 crore. We should be in a position to do it in a quick time.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that honest answer. So Nithya, so distance is another problem that we face, and as we know, the world is moving towards the concept of 15-minute city, wherein every essential is available in just 15 minutes from where you live, and you have been part of one such program in Bengaluru. How do you think that we can make mobility more inclusive here? Please keep it quick, I think we are...
So a 15-minute city, the concept was started by Carlos Moreno in Paris, because they have suffered from restrictive zoning. It is to make everything you need available. But what we are looking for in a 15-minute city in Bangalore, we have most of the things we need. 50 to 60% of the things you need is already available in a 15-minute walking distance from your house. Your grocery store, a pharmacy, a small clinic of some sort, a primary school even. You may not, especially the newer neighborhoods, etc., you may not have a park. But what is missing for us is that accessibility, which is primarily walking. So it comes back to footpath. And the second thing that we don't have is quality. While we may have a park, we may have a small market, we may have to augment the quality. So in Bangalore, for 15-minute cities, which is your 3-kilometer radius for every neighborhood, is to look at accessibility and quality. But the added layer is the inclusivity. Traditionally, all our cities have been planned for and by men. And In India, unfortunately, in the last couple of years, women's participation in the workforce has also declined. My colleagues have just finished writing a paper, it will be published soon, where they've interviewed women earning less than 3 lakhs across 4-5 cities in India, and there is a glaring gap in infrastructure. Most of those women have said, listen, there is free bus in our city, but we can't walk to the bus stop. We want to do a night shift or an evening shift, but we're not able to walk there because there's no street light, or there is a particular wine shop or a tea shop where a lot of men loiter and I don't feel safe. So if we now, apart from the standards, Mr. Girinath was talking about the footpath width, etc., we need a gender intentional lens to make roads safe for women, because when you make roads, footpaths and infrastructure safe for women, it automatically then becomes safe for most of the vulnerable population. Second thing we need to do for inclusive design is to add barrier-free environment. There are enough guidelines, there's a central guideline, harmonized guidelines for various disabled access, etc. We need to make these guidelines mandatory. And then therefore anyone in a wheelchair or visually impaired, the whole city becomes accessible. It would be good to see different kinds of people participate in public life. Right now we see only one section of able-bodied, mostly men participate in everyday life. It would be good to change that and have a wide variety of people.
So do you want to quickly respond to that?
Yeah, our design which WRI has done is inclusivity is the first component there. For visually, for the physically challenged, we have the ramp, the degree of the ramp, the bollard space. Last time we had another workshop in which one of our friend who is running an NGO for the physically challenged, he also said the same thing, that if you would have involved me, I am not able to pass the bollard, etc. So now in the designing of this, we have taken care of that. It is absolutely essential that we should have infrastructure which is inclusive. There is no doubt about it. People of all types, I mean, even old and the persons who are not in a position to walk should be in a position to move and enjoy the city. So that is absolutely essential, and it should be safe. The safe thing for the women is one of the benchmark of grading any city. If you consider any city as developed, you should be in a position to walk, and ladies should be in a position to walk in the night in that street, on that street in that city. Then it is a A-grade city. That is no doubt about that.
Thank you. So Arun, at the macro level, there is very little data on pedestrians. Do you think that it becomes an afterthought in policy making? How do you think that we should? Why is a data-driven approach important?
Yeah, afterthought is the right word. We think car first, nothing wrong with that, but we think pedestrian last as an afterthought. I loved what you said. There should be a minimum footpath width for every road width. Now, every bus traveler, every metro user also walks. So actually, forget data. More than 50% of the people walk even for some portion. So technically more than half the population is a pedestrian. There is no concept called last mile. Every mile in Bangalore is somebody's last mile or somebody's first mile. So everyone uses a bit of the footpath. So conceptually our thinking should be that pedestrian is not an afterthought. Today in our road budgets, I think the decision on width of footpath is not, there's no footpath budget. It is part of the road. I also want to introduce two jargons, because in mobility, jargon helps you think in a particular way. We have something called a signal-free corridor, which is to make people move. I once, when I met Anuchet, I asked him in a funny way, if a VIP wants to move, we have a protocol for blocking the road for smooth movement. If the VIP wants to walk, do you have a protocol? And he said no, because there's nobody in charge of footpath. So we need a concept called obstacle-free footpaths, OFF. So signal-free corridor, the equivalent for footpaths does not exist. So I'm suggesting that somebody takes charge of the walkability of a footpath, just like there is a movement on a road. The second jargon is, we all use UPI today. I do tours, I talk to digital ambassadors from around the world. In G20, I spoke at the digital session. 10 years back, if you said we're going to introduce UPI, people would have said, what is that? It stands for Unified Payment Interface. Nobody knows that. I want to rephrase it as Universal Pedestrian Infrastructure. If you create universal pedestrian infrastructure, people will use it, and the follow-on benefits you cannot predict today. Just like UPI, nobody could predict what it did when everybody could transact. Similarly, if everybody can walk, because, and I'll say it quite bluntly, no decision maker walks. No policy maker walks. And when I conducted my walks, when an IAS officer came, they understood the issue. So the people taking decisions don't walk, but if you allow everybody to walk, I'm gambling that a lot of add-on benefits will come. It is not walking for my health or the city's health, it is creating a UPI. So I would like to offer OFF, and UPI as two new phrases that can enter the conversation in such symposiums. Thank you.
Thank you. So, last question for each of you. Please take only 30 seconds. So, Nithya? Sure, sure, sir. So, what is your vision for sustainable mobility? Because we are discussing 2040 here in Bengaluru.
I really do hope that, you know, we see these Hollywood movies with very busy intersections and then the camera will zoom in. There'll be hundreds of people crossing from all sides. The camera zooms into the lead. I really wish that would be Bangalore. The public health outcomes, the economic outcomes of walkability is undeniable across the world. I also wish we've explored other forms of green mobility, right? I can take a kayak, go down one of the clean nalas, then go to my office, cycle somewhere, and then I walk to a restaurant in the evening. So, and with all our policies, so I had mentioned Denmark right at the beginning, there is enough data to prove that the average Dane feels ashamed to own a car because of all their campaigning. Even if they have a car, they're ashamed to own it. Whereas we have aspiration to buy one bike, a small car, then a sedan, then an SUV. So I also hope in 2040 we are all ashamed to own vehicles.
So you want to redefine our aspirations. So Arun, how do you want the city to transform in terms of transportation by 2040?
Firstly, I don't own a car. I cycle, I walk, I use the metro. And those of us who do that feel very smart because for us traffic is not an issue. My life is very predictable. I'm not concerned by traffic. So much of the discussions are irrelevant. What do I want for 2040? Sir, with your permission, 1,000 kilometers of walkable footpath and I will walk it and measure it. In fact, we can do it in 2025. By 2040, we'll walk it and 1,000 kilometers we'll walk, we'll measure, and what are the low-hanging fruit we'll knock off. We cannot get perfection, but at least we can create three. So that's one for 2040. And the other thing is that I think that's my. If each of us could do our 5,000 steps on the footpath, outer ring road is exactly 6 kilometers. From Marathali to Iblur. Today, more than 20% of the people who work in GCCs walk because they work in housekeeping, security, and they're not tracked. The pedestrian's voice is not heard. We don't have to convert car owners to pedestrians. There are already pedestrians and cyclists. If we work for them, the existing people who live in Bangalore, we solve all the problems. So I'm not concerned about converting people. I'm saying if I can measure how many people walk to work today on any one street, it is not done. I do not know how many people walked on MG Road today. That data does not exist. But if I counted and I made sure that I improved their lives today, I don't need to wait till 2040. We can do it this year.
Yeah, and sir responded to saying that we don't need 2040 to make 1,000 kilometers happen. Could you please let us know?
Okay, so in 2040 I will be what, 72 years. In 72 years, I don't think I will be cycling, etc. I am not a very good driver. My wife is better. But I would see this. I also stay outside the core area and maybe from farther distance I would be coming to the city. So I should be able to move safely and fast in either metro or in some good public transport, reach the center of the city at least once in a week, twice in a week, drink water from the tap there, and enjoy the greenery with birds, etc. there. If this is all provided by Bangalore, which I think it should be, that's meet my this thing, because I will be healthy enough to reach there. So my health should be taken care of. At 72 years, I reach there, enjoy with young people. That is another very important point. That means there is a public participation happening and a lot of social interaction is happening. So I want, in 2040, come out my house, go in a metro or a public transport system, reach Kabban Park, meet very young people and interact with them. That means I am in good health, and see birds chirping, lakes, some few lakes are inside that area also. And they are all green, lush green, and I enjoy my day.
So quickly, can you tell us 3 top priorities for that to happen by 2040?
So that very, very important is in all this road, etc. we have left out our lake and forest and greenery, which is very, very important aspect. In this development drive, we should not kill that. And many persons say that, no, you should open the lakes for all the time for people to come, etc. There is a full habitat there. We have made a climate action plan to see how the flora, fauna is preserved there. And not only preserved, if you see good lakes, pelican comes and stay there. They are actually migratory birds, but they have made it their colonies. So if we provide this good infrastructures, green infrastructure, blue infrastructure, because very important is the use of the water and how we are safeguarding our groundwater. So if that is done, which we should concentrate, we should also concentrate, as you said, the first problem is always keeping ourselves engaged so much that we are missing out on the other aspect, that is our health. If you see outer skirts of the city, hardly any public health is provided. Everybody is going to the various private hospital. We have to very highly invest on the infrastructure and see that the morbidity which is happening is reduced to a large extent among the working class, which are coming from all over the place. So their health requires a bit of this thing, which we should strengthen. We should strengthen our lake infrastructure. We should use our treated water. And of course, we have to manage the traffic problem, which we will invest our money and see that good infrastructure is provided.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Arun, you
just one request to Deccan Herald. You have a lot of, best restaurant, best book. Can we have a best footpath award? Where we are proud of our footpaths, but not just good or bad. Let every neighborhood say we have the best footpaths, we have the widest footpaths. And actually it's so simple, because on our walks, on every time we said how wide is the footpath, and we created a best foot. It's so simple to do, but when we start measuring our footpaths, taking pride in them, create competition among MLAs and corporators, something may match. So it's a request to Deccan Herald to initiate that award, and we will provide it.
And one more thing to bolster his arguments. Whenever we say road, we are saying that footpath is integral part. He wants to say it ulta. You don't talk road at all. You say footpath. Blacktop is the part of the road. Road includes footpath, blacktop, everything. But somehow in our mind, road means blacktop. So let us start saying that we are developing footpaths. So roads are attached to the blacktop is attached to the footpath. You will write like that now.
I think that's a great note to end. Thank you so much for your thoughts and insights. Thank you for listening in.